the first thing we're going to talk about is this new announcement from Riot Games that is basically putting them kind of head to head with Blizzard in terms of what they're going to be offering consumers coming up. And we got this article right here where basically Riot Games, for those of you who don't know, they're the ones behind the League of Legends MOBA. That's one of the most popular games in the world. And I guess while James takes care of his dog, I'll kind of fill you in. So basically, League of Legends was Riot's biggest game. It gets 8 million concurrent players daily, something like that. It's usually number one on Twitch in terms of what's being streamed. It's a very competitive esports scene. And for the longest time, that was pretty much it in terms of Riot Games. It was just League of Legends. But Riot recently announced that they're developing 7 new games. And a lot of people are looking at this as a declaration of war against Blizzard and Blizzard's dominance in the video game industry. And we have an article here from PC Gamer by Stephen Messner. And basically it says that as Blizzard continues to falter, Riot is out for blood. And of course, this announcement coincides with a lot of troubles that Blizzard's facing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But James, why don't you give us the rundown on the games that Blizzard has announced, or I'm sorry, that Riot has announced, and how they're going to be affecting Blizzard.
Well, it's not just Blizzard. They're pretty much taking aim at the entire esports community. They want, from what I see, they're trying to take over every single bit of the esports community. You have Blizzard-like games. You have your what is this code name? I'm trying to remember the name of it because it's Codename A, I believe.
Well, League of Legends, obviously Blizzard tried to compete with them with Heroes of the Storm, but they kind of waved the white flag and gave that up. But it looks like Riot is they're doing a first-person shooter. They're doing a card game to compete with Hearthstone. They're doing a fighting game, so something like Tekken or Street Fighter. A management sim. I'm not quite sure what that is. It sounds something like almost like a Warcraft or StarCraft type thing. Tactical multiplayer mobile versions of their games of League of Legends and Teamfight Tactics. Teamfight Tactics is their latest auto chess kind of entry, which is a growing esport in of itself. So it sounds like they've got quite an offering on their plate.
Oh yeah, and we're not even just talking an FPS. We're talking hero shooter.
Like Overwatch.
It's a direct competition to Overwatch. Their management seems a bit like an esports version of FIFA Football Manager. Which is EA's, if I remember correctly, their biggest offering in terms of DLC. They made the majority of their money, I think, last year off of it, between FIFA and FIFA Football Manager. And then you have the card game, which was actually already released. I'm not sure if it was only released or if it's only released to streamers, because it's been pretty high up on the list, and that's a direct competitor to Hearthstone.
Yeah, I've seen some videos of it. It doesn't look too good to me, actually. Like it looks very basic.
It's basic, and it's reminiscent of Magic, I think, more than a direct competitor to Hearthstone. But maybe they're going for the people who thought Hearthstone was a little too, I guess, newbie friendly or a little too random.
Well, you know what's funny is what was it? Steam. What's the company that runs Steam?
Valve.
Valve, yeah. So Valve released a new card game a while back to try to compete with Hearthstone. That was called Artifact, and that fell flat on its face.
It became a joke that Artifact streaming was the place to stream porn on Twitch for a long time. Like you could see everything in the Artifact section except a single game of Artifact.
But it was funny because I actually, when the game launched, when Artifact launched, I watched a couple streamers playing it, and it was actually a very interesting game to watch once you learn the mechanics. And I was actually into it for probably the first month of release. And then it just seemed like the community started dying off and now it's like it's pretty much dead in the water. And I've been looking at this this card game that Riot released, and I'm not too impressed with what I've seen so far.
No, it's actually Magic might not have been the best. When I look at it, I see a little more of a Yu-Gi-Oh style game.
Yu-Gi-Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it has the entire attack defense rounds. It seems too slow, in my opinion, to ever become a real esport. And everything's based around that I saw seemed to be based around some sorts of spells and things like that that are based off of conditions to the monster. But it's definitely one of the weirder games that I saw.
Well, one of the interesting things about this article is that they point out that this announcement comes right as the gaming community is pretty much all against Blizzard at the moment, where basically last year at 2018's BlizzCon, they kind of misjudged their audience and pissed everyone off with their focus on mobile gaming and stuff like that. And then, of course, the latest thing is this kerfluffle over Hong Kong, where they banned the Hearthstone champion and the casters who were doing the casting for the championship game and stuff like that because of their pro Hong Kong political announcement. And Blizzard walked it back, but the community backlash has been strong and persistent. But what's interesting is, so like, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe there's this Chinese company called Tencent, and they're like the biggest tech company in China, and they own
Possibly the world at this point. Like they own a piece of most of North America's companies as well.
Okay, so from what I understand, they own like a 10% share in Activision Blizzard or something like that.
40% in Epic.
But the interesting thing is that they own 100% of Riot.
Oh yeah.
Riot is owned outright by this same company. So the question is like, why is Blizzard getting so much backlash, whereas Riot isn't? And probably because they haven't really made any big censorship mistakes like Blizzard did. But how do you see this affecting the esports scene? Do you think we're going to see a lot of people kind of migrate from Overwatch and Hearthstone over to Riot Games?
See,
Teamfight Tactics does seem to be making headway
yeah,
there.
and it came at a good time. And Underlords was a little bit half baked to start, which is Valve's version of the Auto Chess Battler. I don't see Project A directly competing with Overwatch. I mean, they originally, you can tell they tried to at first, but it's more of a Counter-Strike or it's more like a Counter-Strike or Rainbow Six Siege type game. Quick time to kills, not much just sustained action in comparison. I've been watching a little bit about it, and it's much closer to like a Counter-Strike type of tactical fighter, Rainbow Six.
And an interesting thing that the article pointed out was that all these new games are League of Legends based. They're kind of doing what Blizzard did with their IPs, and basically every game is kind of expanding upon the League of Legends property. So like the fighting game, I believe you call it Project A, that's going to be with League of Legends characters. The card game is based off of League of Legends. All these things are going to be League of Legends based, trying to, I guess.
Except the hero shooter.
Oh, really?
Hero shooter is a near future Earth.
Okay.
So that's why I said it's going to be a more tactical game. You'll probably see things that are not that different from, like I said, like a Counter-Strike or Rainbow Six. A little bit over the top, maybe. I'm thinking possibly Division. It's like a Division 2 like shooter. At the very least, that's from what little is out there on that. But yeah, they even have a cartoon anime coming out too.
Yeah, this thing called Arcane, which is, I think it's another League of Legends thing, but I could be wrong. But I'll go ahead and show the trailer here. because it's pretty cool.
I'd like to let you in on a very important secret. Power comes to those who will do anything to achieve it. It's time to let the monster out.
Yeah, so that looks pretty good. I'm not a big fan of League of Legends, so I don't know much about it. I just don't play MOBAs because I suck at them. But the animation style for Arcane looks really cool. It's like a cell shaded CG animation, but it's got some anime elements to it. Looks pretty cool. I'd definitely check that out. And that's a great way to kind of, was it like a commercial for their games, basically, get people into the League of Legends universe through a cartoon like that.
And from a business sense, considering all these games they're putting out are in the same universe, they're going to hit so many different groups of people, depending on, of course, how the games actually hit.
Yeah. Do we know where that cartoon is going to be showing? Is it like a Netflix thing or?
No, I don't think I've actually heard where it's going to be. I would expect that to be on places like VRV. Stream.
I wouldn't be surprised if they ink some type of deal with one of these streaming services to get it on there so people can check it out.
Oh yeah, but then again, I could actually see them trying to release that for free.
True.
I mean, the entire point of that is to get everybody interested in their games. Like what they spend on actually animating that is going to be minuscule compared to what they can make just getting another couple of thousand people to play.
And the big thing here that I think a lot of people kind of overlook is the mobile games that Riot announced. So League of Legends, it's one of the biggest games out there, and the fact that they're finally getting a mobile version is a pretty big deal, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, it's not just a mobile version. They're coming out, if I remember correctly, with console versions as well.
Mm. So they really are trying to compete with Blizzard in that sense.
Oh yeah, and it's from a development perspective, it's actually a smart move as well because they had the time to put these together, and from what I've heard, they rebuilt the graphics engine, and then porting that back to PC would give them a graphics upgrade, while at the same time giving them another avenue to actually sell the game on other consoles.
That's really interesting. And another big thing is the mobile version of Teamfight Tactics. Now, maybe you could explain to me and the audience a little bit what exactly is auto chess and why is it so popular right now?
Auto chess is you take the fast, quick battles from, say, an RTS, real-time strategy game, say your Warcraft or something like that, And a lot of times you don't directly control individual units. You control the general plan of attack and everything like that. But then you put it down, and that is the main thing. You strategize which units to pick, which alliances to pick, different abilities, different equipment items, and things like that. And then you let the computer battle it out against other people. It's completely strategy based, which
so it started off as a mod for Dota. Am I correct in that?
yes.
And
The funny thing is,
it has nothing to do with chess, really.
no,
So the name
except
auto chess
it's a board. It's
Yeah.
a board. That's about the only. It looks like a chessboard.
Yeah. And basically, you have like I think eight to 10 different players, and basically you can choose units and upgrade these units and basically make these units stronger and create different compositions of units. And then within a certain amount of time, you're matched up with one of these other players, and your team fights against their team, and it's basically just like computer versus computer. You don't have any real control over it. It's all based off of like the unit composition and how strong they are and stuff like that. And then whoever wins progresses or gets a certain amount of points to get to the top of the leaderboard, that type of thing. Is that correct?
You get about, I think all of them start you at 100 health, and depending on the star level, which is how much you've upgraded the unit, you take that much damage, which increases further in the later rounds. So what you're looking at is a resource management sim that also has a bit of strategy elements, and the battling is, I guess, just there to keep score almost.
Yeah, and this genre, the auto chess genre, has become it's just exploded in popularity. So many, I know a lot of card players, like Hearthstone players and stuff like that, have jumped over to it and seem to be streaming it pretty regularly. And there are some channels just dedicated to either the League of Legends version or the Dota version. But the fact that Riot has taken it to mobile could also, really explode that genre even more than it already is. So I find it interesting that they have so many kind of irons in the fire right now, whereas before they were just kind of content with just doing their MOBA.
Oh yeah, and it all happened so quickly. It was nothing but League of Legends, and then out of nowhere, the teamfight tactics. I guess they might have been working on it for a while, but Dota Underlords was about to come out, and suddenly out of nowhere, I think it was like a week beforehand, maybe, or around the exact same time, you suddenly had teamfight tactics come out of nowhere, and then within a couple of months, you have these 7 games being announced. I'm guessing all of this was supposed to coincide with their anniversary.
Well, that is when they announced it,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's when they announced it, but I meant like they had been planning. This didn't seem like quick. This seemed like this had been something. Even Teamfight Tactics seems like something they've been working on for a couple of years and wanted to get out at around this time. The funny thing is, there's actually another one out there that most people, the original developer of the mod, actually didn't sell his, but is about to release his on Epic as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a race to establish the preeminent version of teamfight tact or auto chess.
Yeah, and the thing is, League of Legends is kind of used to that because they have some fairly strong competitors in the MOBA market. You have Dota, then you have the hundreds of them that died over the years.
Yeah, well, it is interesting to see how Riot's going to change the marketplace, simply because, I mean, not all these games are coming out at the same time, even though they announced them at the same time. So there's probably going to be a steady rollout. But in terms of the esports scene, do you think that there's any chance that they're going to start siphoning people away from Blizzard games?
See, that's really hard to take a guess at. I'm leaning towards they're definitely going to cause Blizzard to lose some subscribers. I don't think it's going to be enough to take away Blizzard's dominant position in, say, card games or something like that. But and there's also with all the other stuff going on, they might end up even losing more people. But there's so much competition. My worry is, of course, the fact that Tencent owns a good portion of several of the esports leagues. And if they start exerting pressure there, you might see them actually taking over everything.
Well, they already have their fingers in pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Mighty Wolf says, so an AI plays for you? In a way, so in terms of auto chess, Mighty Wolf, basically you're playing in the sense that you're choosing the units that you put into your group that's fighting. You choose what their upgrades are. You kind of you enact the strategy to make your team as formidable as possible. And then once the opponent's team comes in, the computer just auto fights based off of the stats. So you're not micro managing anything like you might in something like StarCraft, for instance. It just kind of auto plays. But the part where the gamer comes into play is in kind of formulating the strategy of how best to make up their team, how quickly to upgrade their team, what type of synergies to include in the team, what type of items. There's a lot of different like upgrade elements to the auto chess game, but the actual like fighting against other people's units, that's out of your hands. And a lot of people like that because it lowers the barrier to entry. So someone like myself who's quite slow on the clicking and the micro, so like I can't do competitive StarCraft, I could do this because it's a little bit slower paced and it doesn't require you to do half the work that something like a StarCraft game might.
Yeah, and there, like I said, there's also the resource element there. There's even strategies where you purposely lose because you get an advantage sometimes, losing for 6 or 7 rounds in a row. It's not just AI battling for you. Trying to actually work for economy is a valid strategy as well. Coming out with the most gold in the end, your chances of winning are pretty high.
Hey, thanks for checking out this video. I hope you got a lot out of it. And remember, if you want to support the channel, please check us out on the socials. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Matthew Kadish. You can also find our discussion group over on Facebook at eggfbgroup.com. That's eggfbgroup.com. Takes you right to our Facebook discussion group. And if you'd like to help support the channel, check out my books over on Amazon.com. You can find them by going to kadishbooks.com. That's KADISH books.com. And as always, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you're notified every time we upload a new video for more movie, TV, and entertainment news and analysis. This is Matthew Kadish. I'll catch you guys later.